Hello friends. Now we are studying with the unit number 3, that is basics of ecology. Here in this unit, the ecology, basic of ecology, definitions, sub-definition and the modern branches we are going to study. First, the definition of this ecology. It is a scientific study of the interaction between the living organisms and their environment. It focuses on understanding the relationship between organisms and how they adapt to and impact their ecosystem. Now, here there are subdivisions like autoecology and synecology. In autoecology, it is the study of an individual species in relation to its environment, whereas in synecology, it is the study of groups of organisms in relation to their environment and each other. Now, there are modern branches. There are 5 modern branches, namely population ecology, community ecology, ecosystem, landscape, and global ecology. Now, in the population ecology, it is focused on the dynamics of species population and how they interact with the environment. Whereas in the community ecology, it is basically the study of an interaction between the different species in an ecosystem. The next, that is ecology ecosystem. Here, it examines the energy flow and the nutrients recycling or cycling within the ecosystem. The next, that is the landscape ecosystem or the ecology. Here, in this ecology, it, it deals with the it deals with the pattern, study of the pattern and the interaction between the ecosystem. The last, that is the global ecology, it looks at the large scale ecology processes that occurs across the planet. Now here we can say the examples of autoecology. It is studying the behavior of an Siberian tiger in its forest habit, whereas in scene ecology, it is the involvement study in the interaction between the various species in the tropical rainforest. So these are about the ecology. Now the next is the and the next is the ecology spectrum. Here in the ecology spectrum, actually it refers to the varying levels of the biological organizations at which ecology interactions can be studied. So there are mainly uh, organis animals ecology, population ecology, community ecology, ecosystem ecology, and biosphere. These are the main ecology that we are going to study under the title, that is ecology spectrum. The first, when it focuses on the individual organism's behavior and psychology and adaptation, it goes to the animals ecology. Whereas in the population ecology, it studies the group of organisms of the same species. The community ecology, it is actually the examples of multiple species of living and interacting within a specific area. In the ecosystem ecology, it looks at all living organisms and their physical environment. In the biosphere, the global sum of all ecosystems, including atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere, also the biosphere. It is the total sum of the ecosystem. It is studied in the biosphere. Now, here we can give one example. It is the involvement at is studying with the predator prey interaction in the interaction, and also while the ecosystem ecology would involve examine how the nutrient cycle operates within a forest. Now, the scope of ecology. Here in the scope of ecology, it covers the broad range or the broad band of the scientific area from understanding the biodiversity to environmental management and conservation. Here we are going to study the biodiversity and the conservation. Now, what is the biodiversity? Biodiversity is actually the studying the variety of life forms within the different ecosystem, whereas in the conservation, It is the applying ecological knowledge to protect the species and the ecosystem. Now, the next that we are going to study is the environmental management. Using the ecological principles to restore and maintain the ecosystem, it mainly involves in the environmental management, where the next that is the ensuring the resources are used in ways that do not deplete ecosystem. Actually, it is called as the sustainability. The main that is the sustainability. So, in the scope of ecology, there are the four main things that we are that are important. One is the biodiversity conservation, environmental management, sustainability, and also there are global ecology, landscape ecology, ecosystem, community, population, and organism that we have just studied about this. Now, the next that is the application and significance of ecology to the human beings. This is one of the important topic. Here, ecology is the vital. Ecology is the vital for human survival and the well-being in many ways. In many ways, the first that is the natural resource management, agriculture, climate change mitigation, urban planning. These are the four main parts in the ecology that is gives the significance for the ecology and also for the human beings. The natural resource management, it helps in the sustainable use of resource like water, forest and fisheries. In agriculture, it is for the understanding ecological process, allows for more sustainable farming practices, whereas in the climate change mitigation, ecological studies provide insight into managing carbon sinks like forests and oceans. Urban planning, it is actually for the knowledge of ecology is essential for designing eco-friendly sites and ensuring sustainable development. Here we can give one example, that is the management of wetlands to prevent flooding and conserve biodiversity in an ecological application that benefits both nature and human societies. Now the next that we are going to study is the abiotic factors, that is the temperature. Abiotic factor, that is the temperature. Here are the two diagrams that will show you idea about the biotic factors and the abiotic factors which are present in the nature. But now we are going to study the abiotic factor, that is the temperature. Now the effect of temperature on the planet, but obvious, the photosynthesis and the growth. It is the well-known example. High temperature can exchange photosynthesis up to a point, but extreme heat can damage enzymes. For example, temperature plants like wheat grow optimally at 10 to 25 degrees Celsius, while tropical plants like sugar cane thrives at 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. Dormancy and frost. In cold environment, many plants enter a dormant state. Frost can damage cell wall, evident in crops like potato, which are sensitive to frost. The next, that is the effect of temperature on animals. Thermoregulation, animals adapt to temperature through physiological mechanisms. Endotherms, that is mammals, endotherms that is in mammals, regulate internal body temperature, while ectotherms, that is in reptiles, reflects on thermal heat sources. For example, polar bear have a thick fur laying for insulation in the cold climate, while the desert animals like camel store fat and water in the withstand heat. Now the next is adaptation of meet extreme temperature. What are the adaptations that are being developed in the plants or in animals to meet the extreme temperature? In plants, there are xerophyte plants and thermophyte plants. The xerophyte plants like cactus have thick waxy layer and reduce leaf area to optimize water loss in high temperature, whereas in thermophiles, some algae, such as hot spring, such those in hot spring, can survive temperature about 45 degrees Celsius. In animals like hibernation and activation and the behavior adaptations. Hibernation, it is the bear hibernation during the winter, while some amphibians like amphibians extiate during hot and dry seasons. The next, that is the behavior adaptations. Desert animals like Fincy fox are nocturnal to avoid the daytime heat, so they are changing their path. So they are changing their lifestyle, where the work that they are doing in the daytime, they do in the night to avoid the heat area, basically. So here are the separate illustrations showing the cactus adapting to the extreme heat and the popular bear, which thick form for cold climate. The cactus demonstrate features like a thicky wax layer and the spines, while the polar bear is shown with a thick fur coat and a layer of fat, illustrating its adaptation to the cold. Now the next, that is the light. The next abiotic factor is the light. Here, the zonation in marine habitat, effects of light on plants and animals, microclimate and fire. These are the points that we are going to study here. Now, this is the diagram which are showing the layers, that is the phototic effect zone, twilight zone, and the alphotic zone. So these are the main zone where the light penetrates through the water. So here, the photoic zone, it receives sunlight, supports photosynthesis, and life like planktons and corals and fishes are mainly observed in this photoic zone. Next is a photoic zone. There is no light. Life forms where it is rarely chemosynthesis. Deep sea creatures are obtained in particular this zone. Now, the next, that is the effect of light on plants. The effect of light on plants, it is having the two examples, like one is photoperiodism and the second is photosynthesis. In the photoperiodism, plants like chrysanthemums requires specific light periods. Some plants require specific life periods to floral. Okay. And the next is the photosynthesis. We all know that it's the light, it actually affects the synthesis of food process, that is the photosynthesis in the plants. And here the some plants, they prepare, almost all the plants prepare their food in presence of light, but due to the low intensity of light, this photosynthesis process gets affected. The next, that is the effect of light on animals. There is the nocturnal and the diurnal nature is developed in the animals. Light regulates animal behavior. For example, birds are diurnal while the bats are nocturnal. So these are the effects of light on the animals. The last that we are going to study here in the microclimate and the fire. The microclimate and the fire. The microclimate is small scale climatic conditions like the shade under trees affects plant growth and animal behavior. Fire adaptation, some species like eucalyptus have seed that germinates only after the fire exposure. So these are some microclimate and fire uh, behavior in the light presence. Now, this is the Sheffield law of tolerance. This is the Sheffield law of tolerance. Its the definition is that the survival and distribution of organism depends on the range of environmental conditions that can tolerate, and the application Species like trout have a narrow tolerance range for temperature, thriving only a cold water, while cockroaches have a broader tolerance for the temperature. The next that we are going to study is the Liebig's law of minimum. Here, the Liebig's law of minimum, the growth is controlled by the scarcest resource, that is the limiting factor, rather than the tolerance resumes available. The application in the agriculture, the available of nitrogen in soil limits the crop yield even if water and other nutrients are abundant. The next, it is the biotic factor. The biotic factor is the interspecific relationship. This relationship refers to the interaction between different species in an ecosystem. These interactions can be positive, negative, or neutral depending on the effect of the organism involved. Types of interspecific relations. There are three types: positive, negative, and neutral. In positive, beneficial to at least one species with no harm to another. In negative, detrimental to one or both species. And in neutral, the species is affected positively or negatively. Here, the positive in the positive relationship, it is the mutualism or the symbiosis. In this, the relationship with the both species benefits from the interaction. For example, lichens is the combination of fungi and algae. The fungus provides structure and protection while the algae performs photosynthesis. The next one is the next one is the commensalism. Here, it is the relation where one species benefits while the other is unaffected. The bracknels attaching to whales. The bracknels gain mobility to access food while the whale remain unaffected. So here the formation of the brackles on the whale, it does not affect the whale, but the brackets help to move from one place to another with the help of the whale. Now the next one is the photo cooperation. Mutually beneficial relationship between the interaction is not obligatory for the survival. Ox species like birds eating trick off the backs of the buffaloes. The birds get food and the buffaloes and the reeds are parasites. Now the next is the negative. This is the example for the proto cooperation. Here are the birds which do not affect the rhinoceros, but they eat the whatever the parasites which are present on the back cake on the back of the rhinoceros. They will eaten by this birds which are present on the neck. Or the next one is the negative relationship. In the negative relationship, it is the parasitism or the predation. In the parasitism, one organism benefits at the expense of the other. So one is the parasite and the expense of other, that means the host. For example, the tapeworms. The tapeworms in the intestine of the humans, the tapeworms absorb nutrients and harms the host. In the predator, one organism, that is the predator, kills and the consumes other organism, the prey. The lion hunting the eating zebra or the deer, it is the predator. And the next is the competition. Here, the two or more species compare for the same resources like food, territory, leading to the detrimental effects of both the species, like plant competing for the sunlight in the dense forest. The next one is the antibiosis. Here in the antibiosis, the one organism produce a substance harmful to another, often seen in the microbiological interactions. For example, penicillium fungus protecting penicillin, which kills or inhibits bacterial growth. The next one is the neutralism, the interaction where neither species affects the other. The spider living on a cactus, neither the spider nor the cactus affect each other significantly. So these are the about the ecosystem, that is the basic of ecology. And thank you one and all for listening.